Welcome to The Practical Intuitive, where each Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern, where host Robin Fritz explores mind, body, and spirit for the real world. Because we are all intuitives and healers, and we must all learn to love ourselves and live that love every day. Robin is a trained and certified intuitive and spiritual consultant and hypnotherapist with an international practice based in Seattle, Washington. As the Practical Intuitive, she covers personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice. It's all here. Readings, healings, and funny, warm, thought-provoking conversations. It's Robin Fritz, the Practical Intuitive, helping you mastermind body and spirit for the real world. No ifs, ands, buts, or BS ever.
Welcome to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we're live in Seattle, Washington. Today I have a really big subject, and I know we're only going to get started on it, but it's what is energy? What really is energy, and how has it changed, and how should we think about working with it right now? And as usual, I talk about my personal experience with things, how I discovered things in the world and what that meant to me in my practice and what I think it means for all of us. So in talking about energy today, we're going to talk about how it shapes the world and the universe and how we might want to work with it and why, and how we should maybe not think about working with it. Also, how energy is multidimensional and changing for our current time, how choice and mindset affect it, a lot of stuff. And I'm going to talk about it mostly in the form of telling you some stories to give you some background, and stories are always actually more interesting than being lectured to. So we will get into those stories in a moment, but let's jump into the show itself. The Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World is here for you because I believe that we all really need to know that we are all naturally intuitives. We are all naturally healers, and our issue is that we need to learn how to tap these skills to make them not just useful in our lives, but to help us grow our lives. And as I always say, our jobs here on the planet, in our bodies as humans, our job is always to grow our souls, no matter what body we take. But as humans, we kind of actually take on an additional burden, and that's getting past the judgment that pops into our minds whenever we look at something, judgment, and maybe that keeps us from thinking clearly or more deeply in a subject. And that's what we're joining here in this community that OMTimes has created for us, an opportunity to have a conversation, to explore our experiences and what they mean to us and what they might mean for other people. So if you would like to comment on the question of energy today, what it is, what your experience is with it, whether you're an energy healer or just a human like the rest of us getting along in the world and learning to work with energy, you are most welcome to do that. You may also call in to ask for a quick reading on a personal issue, business issue, chat with an animal quickly, whatever that might be for you. So you can call 202-570-7057. Or if you're shy, which it happens, don't worry about it. You can email me at my website, robinfritz.com. That's ROBYNFRITZ.com. And that's Robin at robinfritz.com. So before we go any further, let's start with my energy partner, Fallon, the citrine Lemurian quartz. Fallon is an ancient power crystal, a healer and a truth bringer, one of the few power crystals left in the world. And you will experience him during this show really based on how your intuition works. So if you see things more clearly. You may see pictures. He may show you what he looks like in real life as a crystal, what that looks like, or oftentimes people tell me he looks like a gold man. You may see gold light. You may hear him chat with you. You may experience feeling his particular unique brand of energy, or simply know that you're connected with him. So as we go through this quick tap into Fallon, so to speak, which you can also consider it a mini meditation, just let the cares of the day go away so that you are balanced and grounded in this hour with us. So as you take your attention to the top of your head, imagine you're connecting with this crystal Fallon, citrine Lemurian quartz. It's a quartz crystal with a faint yellowish cast. He's currently in the shape of an 8-pound crystal ball. So breathing down from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, just let those blocks and those cares of the day wash away. Starting at the top of your head, breathe down your face, your shoulders, your chest, your hips, your knees, and your feet. The top of your head to the bottom of your feet. As you do that, just feel those blocks clearing away. You're getting settled and grounded in your chair or in your walk, wherever you are. As long as you're not driving, don't try this while you're driving, please. And now imagine Fallon as a gold light rotating outside your body, starting at your feet. And as he moves up your body, you can just welcome that healing energy straight into your heart, and imagine that with each beat of your heart, it floods your system with healthy, positive energy. Moving up from your feet, past your knees, your hips, your chest, your shoulders, your face, your third eye, and your crown chakra. So if you're dizzy, lightheaded during this hour with us, that's because you're really connected to his energy. Don't worry about it. We'll close you down at the end of the hour so you can go back about your day. So now I want to talk about energy, what energy is, and how it works in the world. So, gosh, back in 2007, I decided that I wanted to know where energy came from, kind of what it was, what I could learn about it. So I took Reiki classes from someone I knew and trusted and also lived nearby, and I did Reiki 1 and 2, and then because of a health issue, I did Reiki 3, which not the master training, but just the regular training. So, and I full of questions on everything that I do, which I'll have to say, the non-humans are more patient with me than humans, because I ask too many questions for most humans, including myself sometimes. But I wanted to know what Reiki was and what it looked like, and what energy was. And during the Reiki class, they were talking about these symbols. And more recently, I've talked with a friend who's into like quantum touch healing. Oh, there's so many different modalities. They're all awesome. I'm not quite sure exactly which one she's done her certification in, but we were talking about energy and how it works and how people work with it. And she mentioned that, they have these symbols in Reiki and didn't know what to think about it. Well, during Reiki class, I questioned that too, because, to be honest, and I have to be honest, I'm lazy. I want everything to happen really fast. I want all the work to get done like in 20 minutes, an 8-hour day in 20 minutes, so that I can go, talk with other beings or put my feet up and play with my kids, whatever. So I'm lazy and I want everything to happen really fast, right? Not necessarily a good role model for you, but hey, I'm being honest. So I questioned the Reiki symbols. I mean, they were similar to Japanese writing, however you call that. And I just didn't want to go to all the trouble to learn those symbols. And the Reiki teacher insisted on it. And I'm like, oh, whatever. So it was really interesting that the first full day of our class then, that I asked about whether we really had to use those symbols. And the spiritual team of the Reiki teacher showed up in the middle of the night and pointed out a place in a book where she could get an answer to that. So she gave me this big frown the next day and said, well, guess what? You don't actually need to use those symbols. And here's the point of any kind of energy work, whether it's Reiki or quantum force or natural force healing, whatever people do, with their bodies, with their hands, directing energy or feeling the flow of energy or whatever, or using these specific symbols that Reiki has become so fond of. Reiki was actually created into a system by a Japanese man, and naturally he would create symbols based on his own dialect or his own language. But we're human, and the idea is that we need some direction on how to use things, on how to focus our attention. We need something to keep our mind from wandering, and using those symbols helps do that. So if you learn those symbols in that system or any other system, or you learn the modality that, people created these different energy systems based on their personal experimentation and their way of creating a system to, to make money, yes, but also to teach people how to use the system and how to become more adept at using energy, kind of like an apprentice training. But it's all to help us focus our energy and focus our concentration so that we can use this energy in the best way possible for ourselves. So that's one way of looking at, the different systems that people create to work with energy. But the next question then is, what is energy? How does it work for you? Well, at the time I had 2 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels and a cat. Now, my first Cavalier, Murphy Brown, had a lot of health issues. She's also the reason why I became who I am today, because, I saw her doing things that I just didn't know dogs could do, and really opened my mind to how close-minded most of us are, including me, and at that time, even though I knew the world was different than humans describe. So there was a period of time after I learned Reiki that, I was working with the kids and, offering them Reiki. And here's the thing. None of my kids really liked Reiki. And a lot of animals do, but mine did not. And in fact, Alki, my second Cavalier, he'd run screaming from the room if you tried to use Reiki on him. He just didn't connect with it. Well, as it turned out, all my animals are powerful energy masters on their own, and they knew more than I did. But as I was sitting there with Murphy, and I was puzzled because I'd been using Reiki on myself and, working to heal, and I was puzzled because it wasn't working for my kids. So I was learning to ask questions. I was learning to ask for what I needed and wanted, and I was learning to be careful about that because other beings are not like humans. They are very literal minded. They don't make up little ways of, sneaking things in or being political, as you would say, or PC, as you might say, or whatever. Humans are not real adept at speaking exactly what we think and feel because we're not supposed to, because that offends other people, and so we get sidetracked from what is really real. Other beings are not like that. You try to talk to another being, get used to being very literal. So as I was sitting there, I thought, okay, how do I form this question? And in essence, it was, is there an energy system out there that would work for my animals and for me and for my home, this home space, my condo, whose name is Frank, and trust me, I don't name anybody in my family. That's the name he told me his name was. Is there an energy system that would work for all of us safely, efficiently, without harm to anyone and without harm to anything outside of our home? It was as precise as I could think of. And there was an immediate response. I saw this thing, what I think of as the spiral silver spiral coming literally from outer space, and it was weaving down towards the planet, circling, and I was like, oh, that looks just like the pictures of DNA that you can see in online or in medical journals. And I realized that, oh, energy is the DNA of the universe, and here it comes. And I watched it come, and I was holding my hands over Murphy, and it didn't come through me. It just came and settled into her. And I was watching my animals. Murphy was stretched out on the bed because it was her turn for energy healing. She had been tense. And she just immediately relaxed, rolled over on her back, spread her legs wide, and just like, I'll take it all. And Grace the cat, who is a very powerful energy master herself, her eyes went wide, her ears went up, like, what is that? And Alki was the first time Alki hadn't run screaming out of the room for energy healing. So they were all fascinated with this. And I asked my team, I said, well, what is this? And they said, this is a new form of energy. Energy is ancient, as you're saying, it's ancient building block, or what I would say the DNA of the universe. Use it to help heal your family, and when it's ready, you take it out into the world. And I thought, oh, that sounds like a really big job. But I saw an immediate reaction in my animals. They all loved this energy, and there was nothing of channeling through me like you do in certain energy systems. There was none of this, I work for the highest good of this individual, because, like, what is the highest good of anything? I don't know what that is. It's too vague to be useful and kind of scary, because maybe the highest good is for somebody to, like, not be here. That would not be something I'd want to be participating in. And I just saw it work for my kids. I know we're going to be bumping into a commercial here any second now. But with Murphy, it was an immediate positive addition to her life. And I'll tell you some more stories after the break. Hang on. We'll be right back. If you want to call in and share your stories, 202-570-7057.
Conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for. That new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me, and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Shopping for yourself or loved ones? Check out the best rock shop around, Earthlight Rocks and Gems in Kirkland, Washington. Whether you're looking for metaphysical support or just love nature's art, Earthlight has it all. Raw rocks, crystals, tumbled stones of all kinds, carvings, cabs, fossils, tumblers, rare minerals in all price ranges, and books. They also have jewelry, including custom pieces and beads to make your own. Open 7 days a week, the Earthlight store has been around since 1988 and is run by Kim and Todd Valines. Find them online at earthlightgems.com, at Etsy at earthlightgems.etsy.com, or on Facebook at Earthlight Rocks and Gems. Have a question? Email Kim at the store, earthlightgems.com. And just for OMTimes listeners, receive 10% off orders over $50 at their Etsy account with coupon code EarthlightGems. That's earthlightgems.etsy.com or the store at earthlightgems.com.
I'm Fidel Nshambo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we're talking about what energy is and how it's changed for our times. And so, and I talked about the energy of the universe spiraling down at my request to help my family. There are a couple of things that I noticed over time. It certainly started that day, is that the energy as it came towards us from outer space, if you will, was spiraling. And as I said, it spiraled like the circular pictures of DNA. And then, you know, you watch it spiral down and into things. I watched it spiral into Murphy. She accepted it. But it's in everything. And, you know, we say energy is in everything and energy makes up everything, but it's also a spiral. Energy is a spiral in everything. And that's the pattern of energy that we can see in the natural world. So it's the spiral of a hurricane, the funnel of a tornado, the released energy of an earthquake. Someday, scientists will understand that an earthquake is actually spiral energy. Moves up through different layers of the earth, through different kinds of rock or sand, so it moves at slightly different speeds based on the density of the rock or the sand that it's moving through. It's a spiral of a breast tumor that I had that I use this new form of energy to work with. It's in everything. And once you start looking around and seeing the energy as a spiral, everything, you see it in flowers, you see it in trees, you see it in everything. So I challenge you to open your eyes and go out for a walk in nature or look around your home and see the spiral that is in everything. It's a rhythm of life, you know, and it doesn't start on Earth. It's beyond our solar system. It's beyond the galaxies. It's just out there. It's you know, we think of space as black, but space is full of energy too. So I didn't see this energy as a higher being or anything above us, so to speak, or we think of other beings or gods or goddesses as being above us or greater than us, but it's just the stuff of life itself. And whatever it is, it's in that. So I started working with it. I didn't really take too seriously the idea that I would take energy out into the world. It seemed like a really big job, and I just like, I didn't feel big enough for that. But I started working with it. And one of the things I noticed immediately was that when my spiritual team was telling me this is basically the ancient building blocks of the universe, it's also changed for our time. What does that mean? Well, skipping the whole idea of ascension and the ascension process, which I don't understand and I think is too esoteric to try to understand. The human life as we know it, the planet as we know it, all life as we know it is constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly becoming something different. And that's just the process of creation. And where our planet is growing now is multidimensional. And this energy is multidimensional to the extreme. So when I was working with it, even though I came here to work with multidimensional energies, to be the person who translates from human to other and from other to human, the translator, if you will. What some people would call an ambassador, but that sounds like too, I don't know, important a term. And really, is it my natural ability is that I can hear what other non-humans are saying and thinking and want us to know and translate those to humans and then translate human to others. It's just my job. It's not, it's not a big thing. It's just my job. But working with this energy would knock me flat. I mean, this was a different dimension. And when we talk about 3D, 4D, 5D, this is a whole new dimension opening up, and it literally knocked me flat. And it was a long time before I could get a handle on it. And that's when I started buying grounding crystals. That's when Fallon came into my life. Grounding and balancing crystals, really to keep body, mind, and spirit on an even keel. And as I ended up working more and more with non-humans, and especially large non-humans like hurricanes and volcanoes, earthquakes, weather and land systems that are by themselves just many times larger than we are, then carrying a correspondingly high energy size as well. So, that's kind of how I got introduced to energy as a different concept. Well, then, so how does that apply to our lives as we live our lives today? Well, one of the things that I started to realize was that this energy was a lot like the energy that, we've already worked with. I mean, it's the same energy. It's just changing to fit our times, becoming more multidimensional as we become more multidimensional. But it was very clearly pointing out to me that energy, as humans were using it, was not being used in the way that was best suited for energy or for us or for the beings that we were working on. Meaning that when we create energy systems like Reiki, like all the other systems out there that people name and create classes around and teach, and you become an expert at using the energy, humans do one thing. We tend to master and then dominate other beings. And we've done the same thing with energy. So what does that mean? We forced energy to work the way we want it to work. Because we can reach out and tap it, and our natural ability as beings that have incarnated in whatever form we've incarnated in, human, animal, tree, whatever. And trust me, all other beings out there work with energy. My animals work with energy. They kind of look at me like, God, you really need to be taught this? This is kind of a natural thing you should be learning to do, which they were right about. But if you know that you can be trained in an energy system and then use it, and you can see it helping other people when you're doing energy healing on a client, then your natural impulse is to take energy and have energy do something else that you wanted to do in the world. And this is where I constantly have arguments and smack myself in the head trying to talk to people about working with non-humans and working with energy. Because people think, well, because I can manage energy, because I can manipulate it and alter it and have energy do what I want it to do, then I can push a hurricane away from land. Yes, you can, and no, you should not, because you're interfering with another life force and you have no idea of the role of hurricanes in the world if you think you can do that. I've talked about that before. I will talk about that again this summer because I have more new information on hurricanes to be offering you this summer, even in addition to, what I offered last year, which was pretty mind-blowing for a lot of people, which was pretty awesome that people were open to what's happening in the world. But here, looking at energy in this way, I started watching people who were energy healers, realizing why working with Reiki and other energy systems wasn't working with me, but participating in Reiki circles and so on. And instead of using symbols, just allowing, my hands to float above people and their bodies, and my hands just went where they went because that was where I needed to think about what I was doing and what I was offering. But, on a lot of the energy systems, if you're an energy practitioner, what you're doing is channeling energy through your body into that person or animal or whatever in order to effect a change. But what are you doing then? You're filtering energy through you, and then the bits and pieces of you get stuck in that energy that then get put into somebody else. So if you're going home tired and drained at the end of the day from doing energy work or from any of your kind of work, because we're always giving little bits and pieces of our energy away. That's how we connect with people. That's, it's just natural. It's just things slough off of us and slough off onto other people, and we take bits and pieces of it home. But if you're deliberately channeling energy through you into somebody else, you're deliberately somewhat draining yourself, giving to them. And the other thing that was happening was that then people were altering their environment. So you hear stories of energy healers, and they make things float through the air, objects or whatever. And yes, you can. And why should you? I mean, why would you want a teacup to float through the air, for crying out loud? I mean, for entertainment value, I don't know. I don't let those kind of things happen around me. And if I go into a place to do a space clearing and the beings that are in that space start throwing things, I'm like, okay, stop. This stops right now. And it settles down. Why? Because, there's a little power play going on there, but there's also an attention gathering device. But if, again, you're manipulating a teacup to float through the air, aren't you changing the energy and the dynamics and the purpose of that teacup? And why would you be doing that? So one of the things I noticed in the home of the person who was teaching energy healing was that she was changing the energy of the space, so you could feel it change, the denseness of the energy. You could feel that density change, and it became hard to breathe and uncomfortable. And I was horrified, and I said to the space, I said, oh my gosh, I mean, this happens in here all the time, that she makes the energy change in this place, and the place was very tired, and says, yes, this is how she teaches. Well, and she was teaching the best that she knew how, and that was fine. But energy has changed. Energy in the last 10 years has changed. It's not the same anymore. And what happened was that place got worn out, and she had to leave. I mean, she couldn't live there anymore. And places do that. They'll move us out. The landlord said, okay, you got to leave because I want to live here now myself, or whatever the situation is. So if you're in a situation where you're working with energy and all of a sudden something happens and you're not comfortable in your space, or you're feeling pushed upon, stop and ask yourself if that is the energy saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm a sentient being and I can work with you. Don't push me around. Because that's the point of the way this new energy has gone. It is sentient. It has always been sentient. Everything is sentient. And that's the mindset that I teach. You can go to the experts platform at Learn It Live webinar series and look at my webinar on planetary connection. It's free. This is not a mindset I created. I only created the name. The mindset came from working with non-humans and having them to explain to me how humans have it wrong. And we have it wrong because all life is alive. Everything is alive. Everything has a soul consciousness, a job to do, responsibility to do that job, free will about doing that job, and an opinion. And trust me, when you start talking to other beings, they are full of opinions, and they will, chatter and chatter and chatter about their opinions, which is awesome, right? Because we need to be hearing those opinions. But when you're forcing energy to change to suit what you want, you're actually holding it back from being what it really is. And you're holding yourself back as well. And that isn't working, right? So let me tell you a couple stories about how that worked in my family. Today was a first nice day of spring, as I call it. And every year on the first nice day of spring, my dog Murphy, who died in 2012, would say, you promised to bury me on the first nice day of spring, to which I always respond, yeah, but I didn't say what year. right? So I'm sitting here today kind of holding your ashes, the container of her ashes, and thinking, yeah, it's the first nice day of spring, and no, I'm not ready to let go of your ashes, and, thanks for being in my life. But when she was dying of cancer in 2012, I had a lot of people offer Reiki, and I said, I love you. Thank you for offering to do Reiki. But that's not what we're using. We're using alchemical energy. If you want to read about it, you can look it up on my website, robinfritz.com. Alchemical energy is an energy of choice and connection. It is different than forcing energy to push away a hurricane or saying energy has to kill the cancer. There was no way that anything was going to stop the cancer, but what the energy healing did was allow choice for Murphy and the cancer to coexist until they couldn't anymore, until Murphy experienced her dying as she asked, and it was over. But it was a choice and connection, and that's what we need to think about, choice and connection in our lives and how we work with energy. And I promise you that when you look at working with energy from the standpoint of treating it with respect as a being equal to you, as well as the being that makes you up, so to speak, because energy is in everything. When you start working with it from the place of choosing to work together and connecting with each other as equals, it is amazing. It is actually on the level of magic, miracles, magic. It is beyond anything we've ever seen before in our lifetime, certainly, but certainly for hundreds of years, because we are going back to that place where we are partnering with energy instead of forcing it to do our will. Two things about that. A process that I call space cooperating as opposed to space clearing. And I know we're going to run into a commercial here, and so I'll just pick up after that commercial, and we'll be right back.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from New Thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted 15, 14,
31, 13.
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. He realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Welcome Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we are talking about energy. What is energy? So I said earlier that when this energy came from the universe, spiraling like the spiral of DNA into my animals, and my spiritual team told me, use it to heal your family, help your family heal itself. And when you're ready, take it out into the world. And I thought, no way, So I tried giving it away. Because what do you do if you don't want to do something, right? You give it away for somebody else to do it. And I experimented with it on people with their permission. We played with it. It was amazing. I mean, people could be, blindfolded upside down, and they could tell me where my hands were 3 feet above them. This is very powerful stuff. And you can do it. Anybody can do it. And I tried giving it away because, this energy is sentient. It's, I'm not the first person to notice it out there. Later, I heard from other people how a few people were noticing that the energy had changed. And I'm going, okay, good. So it's sentient and it's not stupid. So it had to know that if somebody didn't want it, it would have to show up to somebody else. Of course it did. And I kept giving it away and it kept coming back. I was like, are you back again? I don't want to be a healer. I now call myself or use the term energy healing because that's what people expect, but they know when they come here and when I incorporate it in my practice that it's different than how they normally experience energy healing. And when I started doing private sessions for people, one day it started showing up and I was like, okay, so I guess it's back. And we've been using it ever since. But here's the kind of way to look at how it's different. So if you consider space clearing is a way to clear the energies of a space and, clear out not just negativity, but maybe things that are stuck there like dead people or whatever, or just soothe the energies of a place. And so I'd go into places where people were energy healers and they'd tell me, doesn't a place feel really great? And I would think, why can't I breathe in here? It's just so heavy. It's like this gigantic heavy weight blanket. And to me, I couldn't breathe in there. I didn't feel comfortable walking around. I felt weighed down. But they liked it. And why did they like it? Sensory deprivation, so to speak, that their lives are so busy with kids and work and cleaning house and taking care of everybody that just that dead, quiet space was what they thought they needed to heal in, but I couldn't breathe in it. I couldn't deal with it. So when I started working with space clearing, I was talking to the space, and that's where I created the modality of space clearing I use that I call space cooperating, which is in line with the concept of planetary connection with everything is alive. So when people bring me in for those sessions, which I actually no longer do, unless I can do them from home, is that the space is alive because everything is alive. So people would call me up and say, I need the house cleared. There's the problem. For example, they were selling the house or whatever. And I would go to the house and I would introduce myself and say, your people have asked me to do this and they're concerned about this, or they want to sell the house, or they feel like the energies aren't right here. What do you have to say? What do you need and want? So I would literally ask the space what it needed and wanted and why and, what was going on. And I kind of learned this because I thought I was out house hunting when in fact I was really hearing all the houses in Seattle start chattering to me. And I figured out that, oh my gosh, they were actually asking for a certain person, and I could look around the room at an open house and go, oh, that's the person that this house wants. And that's the joy of working with this type of energy. So in space cooperating, I will find out what the space needs and wants from its people. And then I will tell it what the people need and want from it. And then I will go back to the people and say, here's what the space needs and wants from you. So how can we pull this together? And I had a little houseboat volunteer to be the canvas for its owner's artwork, floor, ceilings, and walls. this level of space clearing is literally cooperating with the space so that both you and the space are better than you were alone. It is magical. It is awesome. And it feels good in there. I mean, it feels open and alive and refreshing, and you can connect mind, body, soul, spirit. You connect earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. You connect all of the elements. And I'm teaching a webinar series currently, and one of the students said, well, you don't just ground to the earth. I thought that's what grounding was. And I go, like, that's what people think. But if you're grounded to the earth, then you're not connected to all the other elements as well, or as equally as we should be. So space cooperating opens up amazing things. It opens up real connections that do verge on what we think of as magic or as miracles. And as one last story in dealing with this is, the more aware I became of energy, the more I realized that there was something going on the planet that wasn't right. And I didn't know what it was. I could just see it. So if you imagine in your mind's eye looking at the planet from outer space, and we see this beautiful blue globe, but then think of it as how I saw it, as encased in this binding, black binding. Now, black is a favorite color of mine. I don't think of it as negative, but it was just constricted. It's like you blindfolded the planet. And it was like, what? So none of us are as efficient, as powerful, as amazing, as utilizing our full abilities to grow our souls here inside this blanket of restriction that's encasing our planet. And what is that coming from? It's coming from the stuck dead. The dead who have not moved on to the afterlife. And I discovered that when I started working with my dad, who kept insisting that I work as a medium, and I kept going like, really? Do I really want to do that? And now it's like one of the things that I prefer to do, because I can see how much healing comes for both the living and the dead in actually connecting with each other. So as usual, my dad was right and I was wrong. Or sometimes dad. At any rate, working with the stuck dead, and I realized how many of them there were because nobody had been helping them for centuries. As I discovered in meeting up with other people who were doing similar stuff, or at least aware of it, I created this process of moving hundreds of thousands of the dead over at once. Now, they have to be willing, and they have to want to, and they have to be ready. Okay, so I'm not forcing them to move, because that like broke the afterlife one time. So my mistake right there. But when they're ready to go, I've created this system, and my dad and his fellow way station managers and a lot of dead soldiers and a lot of other people, some living people, join in. And because I'm lazy and I want everything to happen fast, we do all this in like 5 minutes. I mean, 250,000 dead people. Done. Moved to the afterlife. Done. Goodness, what happened? Okay, so one day, all of a sudden we did that, and I looked up and I saw this piece of thing looking at me, and I'm like, what are you? And it said, I'm the energy they left behind. And I'm like, what? And sure, when we die, we move to this place that isn't quite the afterlife, because we need to slough off those denser energies that basically held our body together, that made it that dense thing that we can each see when we look at each other. And those denser energies connected to our bodies, connected to our lifetimes, our emotions, our experiences. And as we slough those off, we move over to the other side. But if there's a lot of dead people that are stuck and not moved on, and it's a whole nother subject for a whole nother time, and I've already talked about this before in previous shows. But when they all moved at once, there was a huge block of energy that was freed up and ready to use, because it didn't go with them to the afterlife, because it didn't belong there. It belonged here with us. So I looked at it and I go like, okay. And he said, I could be used for something. And I said, really? And I said, like, what would that be? And they said, well, could you find something? And I thought, well, okay. So this was the summer of 2013. And the sequoias in California were, in danger of being burned to death because of wildfires. And these are ancient sequoias, the ancient grove, and everybody was very upset about it, including the sequoias. They weren't ready to go yet. And yes, of course, they're redwoods, and just like a number of other trees, they need fire to burst the pine cones to grow new baby sequoias. That wasn't the issue. The issue was total destruction of the sequoias. So I went to them and I said, hey, ancient sequoias, would you like some help to deal with the wildfires? And they're like, yeah. So I said, okay, hello, energy block, energy, freed up energy block, whatever, meet ancient sequoias, whatever. Would you like to work together? And they looked at each other and said, yes. So I said, fine, go for it. That was the end of my involvement. I had nothing more to do with it. It was just introducing them. And that's all we have to do, just introduce things. So I couldn't resist, though, the next day trying to find out if anything had really happened, right? So I went in, I said, hey, ancient sequoias, it's Robin. And they go like, yeah, hi. And I'm like, so that block of energy yesterday, what did you do with it? It called in cold air to help with the fires. I'm like, what? I was stunned, and you can check it out on the internet. You can check it out because the ancient sequoias were saved because cold air moved in and dampened the fires. That, people, is a miracle. That's magic. That's real magic. You know, I'm sure they could have figured it out on their own, but the energy block was asking me for something to work with, and I was aware of that issue. So I thought, I had no idea they could work together. I had no idea anything would happen. I just know how powerful energy is and how powerful all life is if given the chance to cooperate. So I'd like to leave you today with this idea of energy as the ancient DNA of the universe, as a spiral that is in all life, including us. And ask yourself how you would work with this. And I would say very respectfully and very carefully, this energy is way more powerful than we are. I mean, it's not just the DNA of the universe. It doesn't just make us up. It is extremely powerful. It has its own mindset. If you have not, whatever, I don't know what word to say, but if you are not used to working with multidimensional energies, count on being knocked flat for a while. I'm teaching people how to work with it, but again, with me, it takes like 15 minutes because I'm just not into creating huge systems that people have to wind their way through. But this is also because it's so natural, and it's part of your birthright as a human being to work with energy. It's just altered because our energies are multidimensional and altering now. So, experiment with it on yourself, if you will. Place your hands on a part of your body that's aching and, ask the energy to heal it or to make it feel better or whatever. And experiment and see how it works for you. It doesn't channel through you. It's, you put your hands on something just to give yourself, a feeling of touching something. If that's, important to you, you can just sit there and just say, oh, I'd like it to work on my leg. And it could be the same thing as putting your hands on your leg. But there are healing chakras in the palms of your hands. And so, you rub your palms together and you can put them on your leg or somebody else's shoulder that's hurting, and they can put their hands on your shoulder that's hurting, and you can offer some mutual healing and support there. But know that it shouldn't be channeling through you. That's going to make you sick. It's not going to help the person that you're working with to take in bits of your energy. Just invite the energy to work with you. Invite it to work with your animals. Invite your animals to show you how it works for them, because they're very willing to show you. I was doing Reiki with a friend of mine, and all of a sudden I felt this huge surge of energy. This was years ago, and I looked down, and here's my dog. I thought was an idiot because he really wasn't very bright about some things. And I realized he wasn't the idiot, I was, because I wasn't acknowledging him for who he was. One of the very powerful energy master right there, sending energy up, didn't need to put his hands on, didn't need to do any symbols. He was just shoving out energy, allowing the energy to work with him, with my friend on the massage table. Energy is awesome. Please use it to support yourself and your family. Use it to bless your food and the water that you drink. Use it to bless your car or the bus that takes you to work. Use it to bless your home and let your home bless you. It is amazing. It is part of your life here, part of your creation and your being on the planet. Use it. It's there for you. It's there for the planet. Do not use it to force a hurricane away from land, to stop an earthquake in progress, to do anything that alters the free will and the job of another being, because that is an improper use of not just energy, but free will. So with that, I'd like to end for the day. I'd like to invite you, if you'd like, to contact me for personal sessions. I offer personal intuition, business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, talking with your deceased human or loved ones, past life and between life regression, soul progression clearing, all those use energy, spiritual journeys and awakening, and of course, alchemical energy healing. Currently in progress at experts.omtimes.com/Robin Fritz. We have a 5-part series, Energy Boundaries, learning about energy and energy boundaries. The first session is up. You can tap into that, sign on for it, and not lose any time. It picks up again Tuesdays at 4 Pacific time. Coming up in coming weeks, next week we will be joined by Elaine Clayton, who will be talking about fairies and energies, and after that crystals, and just a whole bunch of great stuff coming up. So to close out for today, hands on your heart. Breathe in, imagine that healing ancient DNA of the universe just filling you up with healthy, positive energy. Breathe into your palms, feel that air on your palms, and cross your hands back on your heart, getting yourself grounded back into your body. Crown chakra closed. Thank you for joining me today. Let me know how I can help you. Send an email to me at robinfritz.com. Thank you and take care. Bye.